Well, good morning. This is Father David uh, with an unexpected re-upload. I had one already recorded for today, but apparently I duplicated an upload. So I'm redoing it on the day of, day 4 of the Great Fast, here from my back patio. We did several of these from my back patio uh, during the Nativity Fast last year, so it's sort of a similar uh, background here. The chapter Return to the Father is really a revisiting of the parable of the prodigal son. We, of course, as Orthodox Christians, we hear this gospel reading one of the Sundays prior to the start of Great Lent. And I always tell parishioners, this is my favorite parable. I struggle every year to, how can I only preach about one or two things? There's so much, you could go on for hours. But really, Great Lent is an extension for 40 days of the journey of the prodigal son. I said in my homily this year that, the amazing thing that sometimes strikes me about the prodigal son's journey home is he went into a far country. He went far away, passing other towns, other lands, before he finally settled where he would waste all his money and find himself in the pig pen, feeding the pigs and hungering after the corn cobs and all of the slop that the pigs were eating. As he went home, there were probably, if we're going to extend this metaphor out, there were probably many different locations he could have settled for. Maybe he's not in the pig pen. He's closer to the Father's house, but he's passing other cities. Maybe I could make a go of it there. Maybe I could stop here, But he continued on, undaunted, and returned all the way to his Father's house. Now, our Lenten journey is really sort of a microcosm of that journey, because our life is that journey home, from the pig pen to the Father's house. Our whole life of faith, whenever it is that we start, if we grow up in a Christian home and our entire kind of frame of reference is this, or whether we converted later on in life and we're kind of getting a late start, our whole adult life, our life of faith, is that journey from the pig pen back to the house of the Father. So, our temptation is always to stop. Our temptation is to grow weary. Our temptation is to get discouraged. As we've realized, maybe intellectually, that this world is ultimately a pig pen. And I know I talk about it all the time, but if you haven't listened to, whether ever or in a while, Father Thomas Hopko's The Word of the Cross, it's a wonderful meditation. You can get it on Ancient Faith Radio. It's online for free, all 4 parts. You can stream or download and listen to The Word of the Cross. And he talks about the pig pen. He says, we've gotten to the point to where we're at home in the pig pen. Like, we don't even get out of the pig pen, And, we try to coping in the pig pen, your best life now in the pig pen, if he were doing this during Joel Osteen days. These sort of things like, settling for the pig pen, but even if we get up out of the pig pen and we technically, if we're baptized and we're within the church and we're, attempting to make some sort of move out of the pig pen, then the temptation is to stop along the way, to get discouraged and to not finish the journey. But Father Thomas mentions in this chapter just a very, succinct and very pithy description of what's going on. It says, people feel unhappy, and they don't know why. They feel that something is wrong, but they can't put their finger on what it is. They feel uneasy in the world, confused and frustrated, alienated and estranged, and they can't explain it. They have everything, and yet they want more. And when they get it, they are still left empty and dissatisfied. They want happiness and peace, and nothing seems to bring it. They want fulfillment, and it never seems to come. So this is really kind of the struggle by many people to stay in the pig pen, and to the sort of the misplaced faith that everything's going to be okay, here in the pig pen. But then he says something in the paragraph sort of turns on this. Father Thomas says, everything is fine, and yet everything is wrong. And I thought that was, we settle for fine. Everything. How are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm doing okay. But everything is wrong. And Lent, while we have to embrace that everything is wrong, we're not doing so in a sense that everything is inherently bad and evil and needs to be rejected. But everything is misused. Everything is twisted from its original intent. It would be as if we were taking tools and using them for the wrong purpose. We take out a wrench and try to bang a nail into a piece of wood with it. We take out a screwdriver and, try to, turn a socket with it. It's just, use it like a socket wrench. It's not gonna work. It isn't that the tools are bad. It's just that they're wrong. It isn't that our bodies are bad. They're just getting abused and misused all the time. It isn't that your mind or your reason is wrong. It's just that we're trying to stretch them beyond their natural limitations. It isn't that, faith is even bad. It's just what you put your faith in. Everything is fine, and yet everything is wrong. Father Thomas says, in America, this is almost a national disease. It's covered over by frantic activity and endless running around. It is buried in events and activities. It is drowned out by television programs and games. But when the movement stops and the dial is turned off and everything is quiet, then the dread sets in, and the meaninglessness of it all, and the boredom, and the fear. Why is this so? Because the church tells us we are really not at home. We are in exile. We are alienated and estranged from our true country. We are not with God our Father in the land of the living. We are spiritually sick, and some of us are already dead. And those are sobering words. But I would say again, out here on this chilly morning, and sorry about the wind rattling some things, but though we are not at home, though we recognize that everything is fine and yet everything is wrong, we must not lose hope. And again, this ultimately is the goal and the vision of Great Lent, is to show us that things are fine, but they are not fine. And yet there is the possibility of movement towards home. And maybe, by maybe, I mean definitely, unless God wills it otherwise, this Lent will not result in your completion of the trip to the Father's house. Unless this, I didn't think about this first time I was recording, unless this happens to be your final Lent. May God grant that He give all of us many years and a long life. But for everyone else, which is all, most of us, almost all of us, this will not be our last Lent. And we will be on our way home to the Father's house, but we won't be there yet. And we'll be tempted to settle for another pig pen. Settle for a house that isn't the Father's. Settle for a place we don't fully fit in and belong. And I think that's what so many of us are pining for and wishing for and missing. I've said one year when I preached on the prodigal son, I said really being homesick for God is what this theme of the prodigal son ought to evoke in us. That we ought to be homesick for the house of the Father, a place that we've never actually been, but that we were created for. Brothers and sisters, thank you for your patience and understanding. God willing, we'll have the regularly scheduled upload tomorrow as planned. May God bless us all, and Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.